Aloha! Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to my channel. I'm JayDreamerZ, and today we're going to talk about blood rain. I think a lot of you who follow my channel may have, heard of a prophecy or two about the end times or the end of days and those signs and omens and things to look for as far as like how to tell how close you are to that cycle repeating itself, right? One of those signs is blood rain. Like the rain actually either looks bloody or is bloody. Something's going on there. So I wanted to bring this up because I came across in my research a couple of different modern examples, actually, of blood rain. So we're going to talk about blood rain and acid rain and how this is all related to the plasma apocalypse and what I think you might be able to expect reasonably by the time we're done with this video. So welcome everybody in the chat. What's up to Kathy Mello, Nicholas Brown, and Marie. Anne Marie says, hey there, I was wondering where we can send links or videos to you. I would say probably the best bet is to just put it into the comments or something, leave a little description and then put it in the comments. All right, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. What I'm going to do is bring up my screen sharing, and we're going to start with something simple. That's what I like to do. I like to start with the simple stuff and move on to more advanced things from there so that we can build a bridge from what we already know, right? Things that we're already familiar with. That way we can get a little more into the fantasy and the sci-fi and the exciting things that I like to talk about. So what is blood rain, right? Well, if you do a quick Google search like I did here, you can see it says blood rain or red rain is a phenomenon. I love that word. I love it when people say something's just a phenomenon. Like, to me, I think about that movie where they, what was it? The Keeper or something like that. It was like the person who kept the memories for the whole community. And everyone kept correcting him saying, precision of language, precision of language. All right, so let's get back to this. Phenomenon in which blood is perceived to fall from the sky in the form of rain. And let's see here. Oh, I actually want to read this next part too. There is now a scientific consensus. Okay. They didn't ask me. I mean, did they ask you guys? There's a scientific consensus that the blood rain phenomena is caused by aerial spores of green microalgae. And then there's some other Latin words. So basically, they're saying that there's like spores in the air, and that's what caused it to turn red. Because this has happened, and it still does happen very rarely on occasion. The last time was in India. In India, they actually had days and days, and they still do on occasion, of blood rain, where the rain is red. It'll just be raining like normal, according to what I've been researching, and then all of a sudden just splashes, everything is red. All the rain turns red. All the rain is red. So that happened in India. And what's really interesting about that story is it was such a popular topic and thing that was going on, a phenomenon, that they sent out research teams to collect samples of that rain. And they did samples on the rain, and there's actually a website here where you can go and you can actually check it out and stuff like that. Let me see if I could, well, anyways, that's good enough. So what this picture is over here is, this is a close-up. It says light micrograph of a red rain smear at 1,000 times. The sample was stored in a vial without preservatives at room temperature for 4 years without noticeable degradation. So basically, they took samples of the red rain, right? Took it back to the lab. They set it on fire. They did all these experiments with it, froze it, shined light at it, all these different things. And this is an entire article here that you can read about it. Now, it's kind of boring for me to just read an article, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you to look it up if you'd like to, and I'm going to sum it up for you. Basically, whenever they took these samples of the red rain, they found a couple of really interesting things. One, check this out. Remember that picture of the red rain when they zoomed in? These are cells. So they detected that the red rain was full of cells. So they're like, this is interesting. There's like cellular activity in that rain or whatever. What is it, you know? So they start looking into it more, and they're like, wow, this rain doesn't have any traces of DNA. None of these cells have any DNA at all. So if you Google, do blood cells have DNA? The answer is a resounding no. They also do not have DNA. So they call it blood rain. It's falling from the sky. They did all these experiments on it. They found that it contains actual cells that don't contain DNA, but they act really strange. Whenever they're exposed to about 250 degrees Fahrenheit, they actually reproduce. I'm not lying. This is their findings, their official findings. Was that they reproduce once it gets about 250 degrees. They start to make more, basically, of these cells. Another interesting thing is whenever you start to shine some light on them in a certain spectrum, which is like closer to the UV spectrum, these cells glow. All of these, the red rain actually glows under certain light conditions and turns red, or one of the colors of the red spectrum, we'll say. Now, let's put that on the back burner and move on to something even more interesting. Actually, hold up. Where's the chat? I didn't pop out the chat this time. Let me pop out the chat. I love popping out the chat. Boom. Participants. Okay. Hey, let me give everybody a quick shout out. Who's in the chat? Anne Marie, Dylan Lawhorn, Jay Gons, Jen Cardno, Lisa Post, Lyric, Sabat Buell, Nicholas Brown, Professor Roy Hinckley, and Wade is also in the chat. Welcome, everybody. All right, so back to... Wait, did I pop out the chat? Oh, yeah, I didn't. I don't know how to pop out the chat all of a sudden. Oh, here we go. Pop out the chat. Boom. All right, sweet. So I've got the chat pulled up here. That way, if you have any comments or questions, if you type in at JayDreamerZ, I can try to get to them if I see them. All right, so let's take a look at some other interesting things here. I want to look at the Bible real quick. This is from the book of Revelation, okay? Many people are sort of familiar with the book of Revelation. What's up, Lisa Post? Basically, the book of Revelation is the Bible's version of the end of days, the end times, the apocalypse, the end of the world, the end of the modern world, whatever you'd like to call it. That's basically essentially what the entire book of Revelation is about. And that's why they put it at the end of the Bible, just like Genesis is at the beginning. So this is, if you'd like to read along, you can. It's in Revelation chapter 11. And this is called the Two Witnesses. Let me get a little closer. I'm going to do my reading voice. No, I'm just kidding. I do like my Morgan Freeman. Should I do that? Then I was given a measuring rod. No, I can't do it. All right, so let's check this out. I actually want to skip up to the highlighted part here. So basically what happens is there's this guy. I'm just going to summarize in my own words, okay? But there's this guy. He has vision. He's told to go measure out this temple and stuff. And then he's told by this angel who's like his sidekick, or he's the angel's sidekick, and the angel's essentially speaking for God, and he says, I will empower my two witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. Okay, let's digest that real quick, okay, before we go any further. God here is talking about empowering his two witnesses to prophesy for 1,260 days. So who are these two witnesses, right? I'm just going to cut right to the chase. Some people think the two witnesses are actual people, or that they're angels, or that they're this or that. Who just joined the Good Vibe Tribe? Hold on. Cloven E! I haven't seen you in a long time. Welcome back, Cloven E. It's good to have you. Hey, let's blow up the chat. Blow up the chat with some Good Vibe Tribe emojis for Cloven E for joining us. So, these two witnesses are the sun and the moon, I believe, so far. So they are what is witness to the heavens behind them, okay? They are the witnesses, they are the evidence of the glory of the heavens, or of God's throne, or of God, or whatever you want to see it or look at it, the plasma above, etc. they are literally acting as witnesses to what lies beyond, according to my research so far. And the sun and the moon, if I were to replace two witnesses with the sun and the moon, they will prophesy for 1,260 days. So, how long is that? If you plug it in, it equates to about close to 3.5 years, a little less. So, the sun and the moon will prophesy. Well, how does the sun and the moon prophesy, right? They speak, they send a message. They are emissaries of what lies behind them, right? They're representatives of the heavens themselves. And they're going to do something for about 3.5 years, clothed in sackcloth. So, time out. What is sackcloth? I don't know if I saved the picture of sackcloth. Let me just double check. This is going to get even more interesting as we go along here. We're going to make a lot of cool connections. I don't know. I thought I had a picture of sackcloth. All right. Basically, sackcloth looks like a potato sack. However, originally, it was not looking like a potato sack. It was made out of goat hair. Okay. So it was very dark and very hairy. Okay. So the sun and the moon will look like they are clothed in sackcloth, right? So in my interpretation of that so far, I'm seeing that they are going to possibly be like, they're going to change, and there might look like there's hairs coming off of them, or plasma, or rays. I don't know. However, sackcloth was worn by people when there was extreme mourning, sadness, right? And you know what else was strongly associated with sackcloth? Ashes, right? People would just throw ashes all over themselves. They're in mourning, so they wore sackcloth and they poured ashes all over themselves. Why, right? I mean, yeah, they could have poured just dirt. They could have poured cement. They could have poured whatever, all kinds of different things to let everybody know how upset and sad they are or whatever, right? But specifically, they used ash, which is really interesting to me because I was also singing all day long the Mary Poppins song of the chimney sweep. And he's like, though I spends me time in the ashes and smoke, and this whole wide world has no happier bloke. Anyways, so let's recap because I'm kind of getting off course. I will empower my two witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. Something's going to happen with the sun and the moon for about 3.5 years. And then what will they do? It says these witnesses are the 2 olive trees and the 2, lampstands. That means lights, essentially. That stand before the Lord of the earth. If anyone wants to harm them, fire proceeds from their mouths and devours their enemy. So, this is if this is true, let's just say that it was the sun and the moon. That means that fire could come out of the sun and the moon, or that the sun and the moon could set things on fire. And it would come out of their mouths. You know, a lot of times that's how the sun and the moon are portrayed. Other stars and planets and stuff, like, you know, it's a circle, so it's a basic shape. They look like a mouth sometimes. Just like Medusa, you know, right? Whenever she's portrayed in the ancient artwork, you almost never see her with her body. Like, it's just her head. It's just her head because that represents the circle that opens up in the sky when the sky decompresses, right? And blows outward. And then the light is seen in a circle around it as our world goes dark. And so Medusa's plasma tentacles, you know, from the plasma sphere around our world enter in, and they look like snakes coming down. And so oftentimes they draw Medusa with her mouth open to represent the circle and that tongue coming out, which is the plasma that comes out, or the, you know, fireworms, or whatever people have called them throughout time. Okay, so if anyone wants to harm them, fire proceeds from their mouths and devours their enemies. In this way, anyone who wants to harm them must be killed. These witnesses have the power to shut the sky so that no rain will fall during the days of their prophecy. Well, let's just say that something's going on with the sun, and it gets extremely hot, and it gets hotter and hotter and hotter for about 3.5 years before the flip, we'll say. And that the moon also could possibly do the same thing. Actually, there are a few prophecies that talk about how the moon is supposed to increase in its luminosity to be as bright as the sun itself is. So keep that in mind. Let's see. No rain will fall. Well, can you imagine if the sun's going around in circles, like scorching the earth, as it intensifies? By the way, if you want more information about the sun burning the earth and towards the end, just did a video maybe a few days ago all about that. So check that out. So no rain's going to fall, of course. If it's that hot, right? Of course no rain's going to fall. So these witnesses have the power to keep the rain from falling and to turn the waters into blood and to strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they wish. So wait a minute, the sun and the moon, if that's true, right? We're just going to go off of that hypothesis for now. Would have the power to turn the waters into blood. Well, that's really interesting. Let's see, I think I have something about that here. Waters to blood. No. Oh, man, I had it in here. Oh, here it is. Okay, so hydrogen plasma, what color is it, right? The color of hydrogen plasma, it gives out two different colors, a strong red and an aqua blue, which combine to give the pink color that shows up in most pictures, or like that sort of magenta color, right? Well, I don't think I have the website up anymore. I don't remember what I did with it, but essentially, whenever you have an increase in like the ionization of hydrogen, this is getting all scientific, but that can cause acid rain. Okay, so we're gonna get into acid rain shortly after this. I'm gonna finish up this Bible prophecy for you real quick, but we're gonna talk about acid rain. Now, keep in mind that an influx of hydrogen, or especially ionized hydrogen, right? That actually kickstarts acid rain, we'll say. I'm just using that in my own language. All right, let's finish this up. So these two witnesses, the sun and the moon, have the power to turn the waters into blood, acid rain. And I'm not talking about like Los Angeles acid rain or Mexico City acid rain. I'm talking about like end of the world kind of cataclysmic acid rain, okay? Way, 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 way different kind of acid rain. And we're going to get into how bad it is or how good it is. And to strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they wish. So as you can imagine, sometimes when these events like lead to other things that happen as a consequence, just like the 10 plagues of Egypt, right? First, you have like darkness, which has a result of everything staying in, and then, like crickets come out, whatever, I don't know. But one thing leads to another, like a domino effect. So there's plagues and stuff. Now, this is really interesting. This is the last part I wanted to talk about. The witnesses killed and raised. So interesting. Let's just say that the witnesses were the sun and the moon. When the two witnesses, the sun and the moon, have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up from the abyss. Let's stop, okay? Let's time out. Where is the abyss, okay? It is my idea thus far that according to my research, the abyss lies at the North Pole. The abyss, that there's literally a hole that goes down into the inner earth, or the hollow earth, or whatever you like to call it, which is a bottomless pit. They actually show a little example of it on what was it, Kong versus Godzilla? Godzilla versus Kong or whatever. There's a great example of it. It's also in Moana and some other movies too. Excuse me. So that's the bottomless pit, okay, at the North Pole, the true North Pole, right there in the middle. I believe that there is an entrance, okay? It's called Mount Meru. It's called Rupus Negra. It's called the Black Mountain, the Magnetic Mountain. That's why all of our compasses point there. And the reason it's magnified is because of that energy charge that goes through it whenever our energy reverses in our world. But that's another story. So the beast comes up from the abyss and will wage war with them. So something happens coming up out of the North Pole and seems to like wage war with the sun and the moon, and will overpower and kill them. Now, time out. If I have to refer you back to my last video, and I'll try to remember to like put like, some links or something to click on so you can reference it. But there's two different plasma apocalypses. There's the winter solstice one and the summer solstice one. Right now, we're mainly talking about the summer solstice one. Okay, that's the one where the sun tightens and tightens and tightens. And basically it stops and it arrives at the North Pole. And it starts to turn blue. Remember we talked about that? The sun starts to turn blue. It gets really hot. The sky is darker and darker, even though the sun is hotter and hotter because there's less daytime. And that star, the sun, travels and goes and rests, comes to a stop at the North Pole. That's where it stays there. Now, it seems to me like it might stay there for about 3.5 days, right? I also imagine the moon will do the exact same thing, right? Even in academics and modern academics, they teach you that the moon is basically just a reflection of the sun. I mean, forget about it being a rock and stuff like that, but it reflects the light of the sun, they say, right? So I would expect it to act in turn. I mean, the moon literally follows the exact same path of the sun, same size of the sun. Trust me, the moon's going to also stop in the sky, just like the sun will stop in the sky. And that's why it's called solstice. It means sun stop. The sun stops. Okay? It's not like yes, in how we celebrate it these days, it stops. It's lowering on the horizon every year. But the sun also makes a stop at the actual North Pole right before the poles flip during the summer solstice. All right, so anyways, back to this. The two witnesses finished giving their testimony. The beast comes up from the abyss to wage war with them and overpowers them and kills them. That means their lights turn off. There's darkness. Their bodies will lie in the street of the great city. I need to highlight this part for you guys, okay? Because this is very interesting. Their bodies, we're talking about the sun and the moon, the heavenly bodies, right? Will lie in the street of the great city, figuratively called Sodom, and Egypt, where their Lord was also crucified. Interesting. It's so interesting for me because first and foremost, if you ask anybody who's like any sort of Christian, they're not going to tell you that Jesus was crucified in the city of Sodom or the city of Egypt, right? So the way that people explain this, typically, actually the only explanation I've ever heard, is that Jerusalem is supposed to be the main city. It's the city of peace. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that all of these names of these cities actually reflect a quintessential city, the original city up at the North Pole on Mount Meru. And that city was named many different things, and they took those names with them when they migrated and left. Okay, they took their culture, their heritage, their history, they renamed things based on where they had come from. So, I'm talking about the North Pole and Mount Meru. They're calling it Sodom and Egypt, where their Lord was also crucified. Well, the Lord, they're talking about Jesus, right? The one who hung up on the staros, or the staff, or the stake, or the cross, or the crucifix. You know, it's different words for that. That's the blue beam that shoots up out of our world. That's the light of the world that everyone can see everywhere. And it makes plasmic images in the sky, okay, based on the shape. And it looks like a giant stick figure, essentially. I'm super simplifying it, but it looks like a stick figure. I think I have a picture to share with you later. So, isn't this interesting? The city was called Sodom and Egypt. So wait a minute. If I'm saying it's the North Pole, right? Because other people say they're really talking about Jerusalem, but it was just so bad that they're like calling them Sodom and they're calling them Egypt. I don't think so. I like Egypt. And I don't know. I've never been to Sodom or whatever, but let me get right to the point. Let's look up the etymology of the word Egypt first, because they're saying that this place, which I believe is the North Pole, or Rupus Negra, or Mount Meru, in the middle of our world, I believe they're saying that is what they're referencing when they say Egypt and Sodom. So what does Egypt mean? Where does it come from? The Egyptians, from French, Egypte, from Greek, Aegyptos, the River Nile, Egypt. Now, let's get a little bit more here. Corresponding to the Egyptian Hatkapta, or actually it's more like Ha-Ka Ptah. Okay, so they translated that into Egypt for some reason, right? They can't speak that language, I guess. Temple of the Soul of Ptah. However you like to sound that out, it's fine with me. Temple of the Soul of Ptah. This is what Egypt literally means, allegedly, okay? Temple of the Soul of Ptah. Well, if Egypt is the North Pole, and the North Pole has a hole in it that leads an entrance into the inner earth, and occasionally when the light stops coming down and it reverses and goes back up, or the energy goes back up, that plasma shoots up from the middle of our world, and that mountain, that plasma volcano, is the temple of the soul, the plasma, the energy that shoots up, Jesus's spirit, all the stuff, of Ptah, right? Interesting. Who's Ptah? Why does it keep talking about Ptah? Now, Ptah was an Egyptian god, okay? He was basically the creator god. He was the head dude, the head god of Egypt. So I'm not going to read all of this. I'm just going to read this highlighted portion. Very interesting story. Totally correlates with what I've been talking about. It says that he was also a god of rebirth, who was sometimes credited with creating the opening of the mouth ceremony. Really? Just like how we were just talking about with Medusa, opening her mouth, right? Now, what does the opening of the mouth ceremony do? Which restored life to the deceased. That is the plasma apocalypse. That's exactly what happens when that blue beam shoots up out of the ground and fills our world back with soul or spirit or energy or, electromagnetism, whatever you want to call it, okay? It makes everything stronger, faster. I don't know if it makes things smarter, but I mean, it's restorative. It's a restorative energy that fills this world. And I believe literally brings dead things back to life. That's how powerful it is, at least for a time. So it's interesting. It says the god of rebirth, who is sometimes credited with the opening of the mouth ceremony, which restored life to the deceased. How interesting, right? All right. So, and Sodom. Sodom. What did Sodom mean? Oh, you know what? The root is sod, or sad. It's kind of like where we get the word sad from. And basically it means place of shackles, okay? Or underworld, okay? So how do you relate that to the North Pole? That's the entrance to the underworld. That's the entrance to Tartarus. That's the entrance to hell, whatever you want to call it, the inner earth. I don't know. I don't see it as being hell or anything like that, but I'm just saying. All right, so let's get past that. We talked about the Bible, so I'm going to close that one out. We talked about the blood rain that actually has cells in it that multiply and they reproduce, basically. It's like around 250 degrees, and they luminesce under a certain spectrum. How interesting. You know what they also said in this article? They don't believe that this is terrestrial. They believe this is extraterrestrial. That's the only theory basically from these guys so far. They're convinced. They don't like to rub it in their faces, but they brought it up a few times. All right, we talked about the sun and the moon being the witnesses, etc., the etymology of the word Egypt and how it correlates to the North Pole, or the Hyperborea, the land beyond the north wind, etc. We talked about Ptah, the Egyptian god. Now let's talk about wormwood, because in the Bible there's a few different prophecies, and one of them is that the waters would turn to what they call wormwood, right? Basically, it translates into what we would say is bitter, right? However, that is not. Is there drama in the chat? Don't have drama in the chat. You guys don't do the drama stuff. You're good. We're better than that. All right, so in the Bible, basically, there's this thing that comes down from the sky and turns all of the waters, right, bitter, or aka poisonous, essentially, right? That's really what that's, a better translation is poisonous. Now check this out. The Greek for wormwood is absinthos, which is where we get the word absinthe from. Interesting, right? Let's see, did I have anything else highlighted here? Nope, I'm going to skip wormwood. All right, boom. Acid rain. So let's talk about acid rain, because that's essentially what I believe the blood rain is so far, thus far. Strong possibility. I don't know about the cells. The cells threw me off. I like that. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts about the cells in the rain. I mean, it was all full of cells, right? Really interesting. But I want to talk about acid rain, because this is something that I can relate to and talk to you about. So what is acid rain? Acid rain is a rain or any other form of precipitation that is unusually acidic, meaning that it has elevated levels of hydrogen ions. I knew it was somewhere. There it is. Hydrogen. So I've always speculated that the plasma sphere around our world, or above our world, I should say, is hydrogenated. I think that it is, and that's why it turns this magenta, purpley, reddish kind of different colors, right? And it makes sense if that ionized hydrogen enters into our world at a huge influx during a worldwide tempest, you're going to get acid rain. I mean, we haven't even talked about all of the debris that's going to be lifted up into the sky. I can't even see. Can you guys see me? I feel like you can see me. Okay. I feel like I keep getting closer and closer to the camera because I'm on this chair that has wheels. Anyway, so all this stuff is going to get lifted up into the sky, right? Into our atmosphere, into the air itself. There'll be that neutral gravitational point or neutral electromagnetic neutral point where there's no gravity. Things float. The world will depressurize, causing a worldwide tempest where there's super strong winds, and whatever's floating is going to get carried away in the wind, and where it goes, nobody knows, right? Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. And that's going to pick up the world's dirt, the world's dust, the world's debris, the world's trash, the world's chemicals. Iso Mata 590 just regenerated. Hey, look at you. I don't want to go. Welcome. So yeah, all this stuff is going to get carried up into the sky, okay? On top of ionized hydrogen entering into, all of the clouds and mist. Don't forget about the mist as well, right? So that's one reason why I do have a gas mask and why I got my son a gas mask as well. But yeah, ionization of hydrogen can cause acid rain. Nitrous oxide, it also says, is a huge factor, right? If you have an influx of nitrous oxide, that's why it says NO right here. See that? NO? That's for nitrous oxide. Nitrogen oxide. All of these compounds are created. I went over all of these compounds whenever I was doing my chemical, what was it? My Chemical Plasma Apocalypse Romance or something like that. I forgot what the video was called. But I talk about this soup of chemicals that's just mixing and combining to make new things up in our atmosphere and down here on the ground as well. So, anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and skip the acid rain. I think we're all pretty much familiar with that. What are the three... Here, I want to read some of this right here. What does acid rain do to plants? That should have a T. Boom. What does acid rain do to plants? Acid rain leaches aluminum from the soil. That aluminum may be harmful to plants as well as animals. Acid rain also removes minerals and nutrients from the soil that trees need to grow. So, let's think about this logically, right? If we have a worldwide tempest and there's acid rain about, right? I'm talking about apocalyptic acid rain. Real acid rain that makes you think of the word acid, meaning don't touch that. Right? Don't touch that. If it's acid, don't touch it, right? I'm not talking about like, oh, it's like Los Angeles rain, it's gross if you drink it. No, I'm talking about real acidic rain that falls, right? Also could be holy water. I mean, it's coming from above, it's coming from the heavens, etc. And it's used to like get the bad guys and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, acid rain, basically, in that amount, I would assume would kind of mess up the land for a while. I don't know how long. However, 7 years does come to mind whenever I'm at least thinking about like biblical prophecies. I'm not sure about the other religions. But they do talk about this sort of 7-year period of famine and stuff where you have to get through that. And then there's abundance. Like ridiculous amounts of abundance afterwards. I'm not saying 7 years, could be 7, could be 3, could be more, could be less. I'm leaning way towards like a short amount of time. 7 would be like maximum just for me personally, because I also believe that there will be an influx of life that will be rapidly growing everywhere, right? However, it would have to sort of push through the bad soil that would have to work itself out over time so that life could start to grow again and then flourish to those levels. So, let's see. What other questions did I have here about the acid rain? Oh, that was on my other one. I had them highlighted. So, basically, acid rain also, like, turns all the buildings brownish and rusty looking and stuff like that. Just like you see in all the apocalyptic movies. I don't think I had anything for that, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that one. Now, do you see this? This is the pH scale for acidity, okay? So, regular drinking water, should be, like, right here in the middle. Should be neutral. Rainwater, you get slightly acidic, because remember, ionization, that you could just think of the word electricity. It's essentially the same thing, okay? So you got like thunderclouds and stuff ionizing the clouds, so it's slightly acidic, not a lot. And then you've got acid rain, which falls right after here, right about the 4-point level, right? You go under the 4-point level, and you're getting closer to like lemon juice, and then you're getting way down here to battery acid. Now check this out. Hold up. Well, I think I skipped that particular website, but I typed in the question, what does it do to like buildings and structures and stuff? And it says it basically tears them apart, breaks them up, makes them really rough. They lose their smooth features and stuff like that. And then this came to mind. I was thinking about this, and I wonder, and I suppose that the Sphinx itself probably survived the last time, and this could be the result of acid rain, possibly, and some other things, right? Things that are just hitting it in the head as the blows around in the tempest or whatever. I don't know. This is also really interesting too, because you can kind of see the layers. See how it's like made in layers? There's the chin layer, under the nose layer, the eyes layer. You see those layers right there? I thought that was a pretty interesting picture. All right, so that's the kind of stuff acid rain can do. Oh, that can't happen in our world. That's ridiculous, right? Not so much. There's actually... Hey, Cloven E just made a donation through the super chat. Let me read your comments here. Cloven E says, "Seen that Rupus Negra in Godzilla vs. Kong, blood palm spat on the mountain." That's right. When getting in, what is the meaning and symbolism behind blood with Mount Meru, the Holy Grail, etc.? Just wondering. Ooh, that's a really good question, because I've also noticed that too. How, for example, like in that one, what was that show? The Shannara Chronicles? I don't know if you guys saw that. But it's the same thing. Like when they get to their destination or whatever, she has to like make herself bleed and the blood has to go in or whatever. So I'm not sure. I will look into that because it's something I've also wondered about. So I don't want to take all of our time speculating on it, but I will come back to that. Thank you. The world is a stage, exit right. Travel through time to join the Good Vibe tribe. Welcome, the world is a stage. Okay, so this is an example right here. There's many lakes just like this all around the world. You could think of Yellowstone and stuff. This one in particular, it says Danakil's water have an average pH of 0.2, which is almost unheard of in any natural setting, or normal setting, I should say, right? What we consider to be normal. 0.2. Let's go back to that pH scale. 0.2 is right there. That's battery acid that you're looking at, essentially. Right? Now, think of something that happens on an apocalyptic scale. I'm just saying, I plan on staying out of the rain. Okay? After the apocalypse, during it, for a while until I can test it out and make sure it's actually safe and stuff. I would try to stay out of the rain, right? Now, I don't think it's going to rain a lot afterwards. Okay? I think there'll probably be some initial pockets of whatever, however it works itself out. But once it's all settled and said and done with, I'm not too sure that there's actually going to be rain any longer. And when the rain does come back, hopefully it'll be purified. But I'm just saying there's a few different things I've noticed in pop culture where people are trying to make movies about the rain, and the rain does something to people, and the rain this and that. It's really interesting correlation. Hydrogen plasma, we talked about that. We talked about the pH scale. Oh, purple rain. Speaking of the rain changing colors, right? Remember Prince's song, Purple Rain? I can't do it. Purple rain, right? I want to read the lyrics to you, actually. I'm not going to sing the lyrics. But yeah. Now, imagine, okay, just imagine. Just bear with me for a moment. Imagine that this is not Prince singing. It's not some guy singing to some ex-girlfriend or whatever. Imagine this is the plasma apocalypse speaking, whether it be Mother Earth or Father Sky or whatever. Let's just read the lyrics with the plasma apocalypse view, I'll say. I never meant to cause you any sorrow. I never meant to cause you any pain. I only wanted to one time to see you laughing. I only wanted to see you laughing in the purple rain. Time out. Wait a minute. You want to see me laughing in the purple rain? What the hell does that even mean? Except for what it says, right? Laughing in the purple rain. We can put symbolism into that, but literally he's saying he wanted to see someone laughing in the purple rain. Okay, remember how we said nitrous oxide and hydrogen and all these different chemicals and stuff that they create that blood rain, and that blood rain is essentially like, I think phosphorescent is the right word, or it fluoresces. It turns light. It makes its own light. Like fish at the bottom of the ocean make their own light. This rain makes its own light when exposed to certain conditions, right? Essentially, it turns purple, right? The red spectrum, purple, pink, magenta, red, all these different colors, right? So imagine he's talking about literally wanting to see someone hysterically just laughing at the end of the world in this crazy, scary situation or whatever, and somebody's just having the time of their lives because a nitrous oxide cloud passed by them or settled on them or something, because I completely think that there's going to be pockets of nitrous oxide here and there that, travel about in the wind until they dissipate, until our atmosphere is more homogeneous. I believe there's going to be pockets and clouds of nitrous oxide. What does that mean? That means people are going to be high and laughing a lot, depending on how much they had. Anyways, I only wanted to see you laughing in the purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain, purple rain, purple rain. I only wanted to see you bathing in the purple rain. I never wanted to be your weekend lover, right? I didn't want to just be here for a short time. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I only wanted to be some kind of friend. I'm here to help. You don't have to see me as such a bad guy. This is the plasma apocalypse speaking. And everyone's all doom and gloom. Oh, don't talk about the end of the world. Oh, that's all evil and negative and bad and blah, blah, blah. And that's what you're calling that thing. If it's real, that's what you're saying that is. You're saying, oh, that's the bad guy. That's the evil. That's the Satan. That's the devil. That's this and that. But he's saying, I never wanted to be your weekend lover. I didn't want to be around for such a short amount of time. I wanted to be your friend. Baby, I could never steal you from another. It's such a shame our friendship had to end. This is the apocalypse speaking. It's only here for a short time, like a week, 10 days, somewhere around there. So it's here for a very short amount of time. Brings about changes that will live on forever in the stories that will be told. Purple rain, I only wanted to see you underneath the purple rain. Honey, I know times are changing. I know they're changing. I made that happen. It's time we all reach out for something new. That means you too, right? You got to let go of that modern world. Accept the world that I have given to you as a gift to change. I've given it all to you. Here it is. Everything is for you. A brand new world. It just wants us to be happy. Let's see. You say you want a leader. That's pretty much everybody in the whole world. But you can't seem to make up your mind. I think you better close it and let me guide you to the purple rain. That's plasma possession. Okay, I got so excited about that. Okay, there is an entity out there. I believe the plasma is sentient. And there's different ones. There's the blue one and the red one. Okay, I think they're both essentially semi-independent of one another, I should say, right? So where was I? You say you want a leader, but you can't seem to make up your mind. I think you better close it and let me guide you to the purple rain. That is plasma possession. According to my research and studies, I've got many videos about it. It's in my book and stuff, right? Plasma possession is when that purple rain, that plasma, magenta tentacles, whatever you want to call it, comes down from above, and the weak-minded, the closed-minded, the base of the world essentially have an aura that they project, and the plasma sees that, and possibly even the physical beings that enter into our world might be able to see that as well. And it seems to me, based on my research so far, that they target a particular aura. So what do they do when they grab onto it? If you watch these movies, these scary movies, if there's aliens or monsters, they almost always have some sort of a thrall or slave or ability to make someone their slave. And then those slaves go around like holding people's eyes open and making them stare into the light, whether it be the dead lights of it or, Pennywise, it, or otherwise. So he says, purple rain, purple rain. If you know what I'm singing about up here, come on, raise your hand. Because not many people do, right? If you know what I'm singing about, I mean, if he was speaking plainly, he wouldn't even have to have this verse, right? If you know what I'm talking about, if you know what I'm saying, raise your hand, right? That means that there's something esoteric happening. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to make that comment. Purple rain, I only want to see you in the purple rain. Now, speaking of purple and purple rain and living and dwelling and walking underneath the purple sky or the purple rain or whatnot, there is an interesting following out there called the Saturn death cult, which I came across right when I started doing YouTube, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, actually. And this is when I started diving into plasma research and how our origins of our world were related to plasma physics and stuff like that, right? So I highly recommend checking out this website. It's called SaturnDeathCult.com. I'm not going to read it or anything, but as you can see right here, it says, a timeless age in a purple haze. So Prince saying purple rain, Jimi Hendrix saying purple haze, right? And people think this is all just coincidence. It's totally not. They're not singing about what you think they're singing about. I think. I see through it, especially like all along the Watchtower. Oh my God, that whole song is about these beings talking about how they want their immortality back. They got to get out of here, and it's insane. Anyways, if you check this out, basically, they are very like heliocentric in their synopsis and stuff like that. Totally fine with me because I can adapt. I can weave that into my collection of information that I have and my experiences. But basically, they say that the Earth, a long time ago, during its Genesis stage, we'll say, was following in the plasmic tail of Saturn, and that plasma was purple. So essentially, we lived in like the plasma sphere of Saturn because we were following right behind it. It was so close, and it was so huge that it was big in the sky and everything. Now, I believe that what they're talking about is seeing something so great and big in the sky or whatever. I think that has something to do with when the light reverses and goes the other way, and you can see what's actually out there beyond the dome of our world or beyond the firmament. Let's see. So here's a little example. They'll show Saturn right here. Mars is right behind it, and then we trail Mars just at the end of this little purple plasma sheath right here. And it says Earth's purple dawn. I call this the purple dawn theory. I think that's probably what they call it too. But it's really interesting. I do want to just read this one real quick part right here. It says, also the Earth's then electrical relationship to its brown dwarf star would have produced a different and lesser gravity, allowing for the gigantic proportions of some new species now extinct to flourish. I love that. Confirmation right there. Like, I had to go back to my beginning. I had to go back to the beginning. Right there, I mean, I've read this website like years and years and years ago, right? Forgot all about it. And then I was just reminded as I was researching earlier that they had actually mentioned Earth losing its gravitational pull or it weakening, right? So this is a really cool website. It'll give you an alternative insight into subjects such as the electric universe model. And it touches on some giants who came before them, like Immanuel Velikovsky, who wrote the book Worlds in Collision. Highly recommend that one too. But yeah, I thought this was really cool. They talk about how the world was just engulfed in this purple haze, right? It was all very purple and it was very hazy. Well, what they call hazy, I call the mist. I call depressurization that turns our atmosphere into fog worldwide. In Islam, they call it a world engulfing smoke, right? Well, you can imagine if all of a sudden there's all this light and stuff everywhere that's like along the red spectrum, purples, pinks, stuff like that, right? That all of that fog is going to kind of just have a glow to it as well. A purple glow. Or pink or red, depends on where you live and stuff. Also, I think it's interesting. Somebody else mentioned that hand that was in Kong. This guy has a hand on his chest too. It's a red one. See that? If you ever see that red hand, the hand is symbolic and fingers are symbolic of the shape of plasma. Its natural tendency to branch off, just like that, right? So a lot of times they'll have the hand, or they'll have like fraternities or sororities or whatever pop up, and their symbol is the hand. In Skyrim, if you play video games, there's one called Skyrim. It was called like Brotherhood of, I forgot what it was called, but their symbol was the hand. Red hand, a bloody hand. King Kong has that hand. That's plasma. That's it. That's an image for plasma itself, especially when it's red. Okay, that literally is showing you like, hey, this is the symbol for the plasma god in the sky. It looks like hands. Looks like hands coming down, fingers coming down, and then whenever that dome goes back up, or that electromagnetic grid goes back up, it cuts them off. It cuts the fingers off that are reaching down into our world. And you'll see that in the movies portrayed often too. Okay, so that was pretty much all I had to share. Let's see. How much time do we have? Yeah, it's getting a little late. So, let me do this. I would like to take 5 minutes-ish to answer questions in the chat, say hello, read comments, whatever you'd like, because I wasn't really in the chat a lot this video. I'm super sorry. I had a lot of stuff that I had to click on and pay attention to and read. But I hope, as I always do, I hope that you found something of value in what we went over today. Even if you were merely amused, right? I'm not a big fan of people having beliefs. I don't like to have beliefs. I like to have inclinations and ideas and a growing perspective and experience and stuff like that. Otherwise, I feel like I'm not making progress. I'm not getting anywhere. I don't want to be stagnant. So it always makes me sad to see people fight over their stagnantness or their beliefs or their little flags they've planted and what they think they know about anything. And I also want to throw this out there too. Every single one of my videos is not, I might sound super excited, I might sound very convincing, but what I am not doing is telling you the truth of the ultimate, any kind of truth. Like, hey, this is totally true. Hey, this is 100% accurate. I'm not lying either, so I don't want you to think that. But there is an element, a percentage of truth in what everyone shares. I believe every single person. I don't believe that there is anything to the extreme as an absolute lie. I think it has to have truth in there somewhere. So I just want to say that to hopefully convey to you that I try to recognize that on my walk, so that I don't think that I know somewhere and then get stuck somewhere, or think that I know something and then I get stuck somewhere. Right? I stay there thinking that I'm moving, but I'm just running in place. I have done that many times in my past. So when I share these things with you, please keep in mind that they're just growing ideas. I'm literally just holding up a mirror, or I'm just painting a picture of my experiences and my walk, what I have noticed, what I have seen, what I have smelled and heard and tasted, and all these things. I'm just saying, here's what I saw. Here's where I've been. And I'm telling you, I'm sharing my travels with you. So those travels are not 100% accurate, meaning like, if I told you I traveled from Washington to LA and I told you the story of my journeys, I also left out a lot of like how many grains of sand there were and how many trees I passed. You know what I mean? So it's not 100% absolute truth either. Everybody has a percentage, right? And some may find higher or lower. My hope for you, and the reason I'm rambling right now, I hope that you find your percentage in whatever I share. Those things that resonate with you and make sense to you, you can add to the Rolodex of your brain and improve upon. So, with that being said, I do have a couple of comments here in the chat. Let me go ahead and jump in real quick. Maria Becco says, "What, but I was here for the truth. Actually, your info shows very interesting patterns." Well, good. If you're here for the truth, I'm sorry, but I don't have it. I don't believe in the truth. I don't believe in lies. I don't believe in either of those things. I believe in an ever-growing, ever-moving, fluctuating, breathing universe that's constantly changing and remaining the same at the same time. So yeah, I don't have it. I just have my perspective, and I just have my information and my walk to share with you, and it's not yours. It's not your walk. It's mine. But maybe we can learn from each other, as we walk that path. Anything else in the chat? Let me see. Let me jump in here. you got to type in @JayDreamerZ. I know sometimes people don't do that, but I'm literally just skimming the chat because I can't read everybody's stuff when I'm live because it'll take too long and I'll just be quiet staring at the screen. Let's see. Beyond One's Mind says, through everything you know, Jay, have you ever come to the conclusion that we are simply in a larger body, no different than the bodies we all have? We would simply be the cells in this larger body. I don't believe in conclusions, but yes, that definitely pops into my head all the time. So for sure, I'm just going to go ahead and say yes to that one just to make it easy. That's the homunculi theory. And basically, what he's talking about, I always touch on. I've actually done a few different videos that shows it. And that is that we are the consciousness. We are an inner integral fractal part of a larger being or whatnot. Just like there are little microscopic little worlds within you. You're a being. And you're the god of your little universe that's inside of you with all your atoms and micro animals and insects and all the weird things that live on our bodies and in our bodies. Yes, I can definitely relate to that. Good comment. Who knows the truth really anyway? I mean, don't get me wrong. I have strong inclinations towards certain things, but they waver, you know, because I learn something and then I go to the implications. I'm like, okay, well, let's say that's true. What does it imply about this and that and that and that and that? How does it change everything else? How does it touch everything else? That's how my mind works. AD is in the chat. Actually, hold on. Let me go to Life Path. Where is the chat? I've got two chats up. That's why. AD says, no, Life Path numbers. I'm sorry, Life Path number 9. Cool name. Says, JayDreamerZ, I tried to send you a super chat, but I'm having password issues. I changed my password and it still says invalid password. I am not tech support. I'm super sorry. I thank you. Thank you. You totally don't have to send a donation. I never ask for donations, and when I get them, I'm humbled. Like I get very emotional. Even if someone sends like 10 cents or whatever, like that's 10 cents I did not have, and they did, and they gave it to me, and that is honorable, and that's something that I do honor and respect. So thank you. It is the thought that counts. I appreciate it. Don't worry about it. AD's in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, what are your thoughts about Urta Ale volcano and the splitting of Horn of Africa from the mainland? I don't have any thoughts about that because I don't know what you're talking about. It sounds like it might be something that's in the news. If it's in the news, I'm unfamiliar and unacquainted with it, most likely. Mud flood thoughts, brother. Kenneth. All right, let me give you my mud flood thoughts, buddy. So, when the plasma apocalypse comes around, in its varying severities from time to time, the world shakes. The entire Earth, all of it, shakes all over the place. Earthquakes everywhere. It's growing, essentially. And when it does that, it causes liquefaction. And that water rises up to the surface, mixes with everything else, turns into mud. And you have mud flooding. You have things sinking down into quicksand. A lot of that actually instantly covers its own tracks the moment the Earth stops shaking. If you look up like videos of liquefaction and stuff, you'll notice you can have something shaking like that and it'll be very liquidy, but the moment it stops shaking, whoosh, it freezes up. It solidifies essentially. So that's what the Earth does. It swallows things up and then keeps them. So I do talk about that as well. But that's my thoughts, essentially the gist of it on the mud floods. I think they are a part of the plasma apocalypse. So yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else in the chat? Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. Morgellons and parasites live within us. Not in me. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know about Morgellons. I don't want to see it if it is. That stuff grosses me out to look at. Let's see here. Anything else? Anything else? No? Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to wrap things up. Listen, you guys have been amazing and always are. I super appreciate your donations. I appreciate just watching and tuning in, people subscribing, people becoming members, checking out my website, buying my book. I'm very humbled every single day, and I love it. I love you guys. I really do. I wish I could meet all of you personally. I get so emotional when I think about doing these videos and all of your comments and stuff. Oh, hey, that reminds me too. I wanted to give a shout out real quick. Let me do a quick shout out here. There was a couple of people that left a super thanks, which is like a donation on one of my older videos. And I wanted to just give them a quick hello because that was really cool. It's a brand new thing and they totally did it. So let me get that pulled up here. Let's see, comments. Yes, boom. So this is how I check these comments, right? I go to my little comment section that I have in my YouTube studio, and then I go to the super thanks one, and I just click on that. Okay, sweet. So Ella Snow, thank you very much for your donation. Ella was actually watching the umbrella of the occult video that I just did, and so she left a little tip, I guess you could call it, and said, hey, I appreciate it. So thank you, Ella Snow. And also a huge shout out to Tony Hernandez, who was watching the Godzilla vs. Kong that I just referenced, right? He was watching the Truth in Movies Godzilla vs. Kong episode and left a super thanks. So thanks to both of you guys. Thanks to all of you out there for watching. I love the Good Vibe Tribe. Whether or not you're donating doesn't matter. I don't even care. I just love that you guys are here with me and I get to spend time with you. Fantasia has no boundaries. Hey, Davey just donated in the super chat. And Sebastian Lesney just totally joined up. Look at him rocking out his little Groot self. Okay, anyways, I can't do it. Davey818 says, it's finally cooler now in the scorching SFV818. So you might have to explain to me what that represents. I could Google it. SFV818. Perfect now to watch your show this evening. Keep it gnarly, brother. What is SFV? I'm going to Google that right now. Hold on. Let me Google that. See what SFV stands for. This reminds me of Love, Death, and Robots when he's like, don't look it up. I'm looking it up. I'm going to find out what it is. And they're like, don't look it up. You'll be sorry. SFV818. Let's see. What is that? Oh, San Fernando Valley. Oh, in the area code. Okay, I gotcha. Man, I should have known that because I'm from California, or was. Anyways, I love you guys. I have to go. I want to keep it short for future viewers and stuff, but I'll be back soon. Tomorrow, we're actually going to do a members-only video. We're going to do those once a week, just so I can give a little something extra to show my appreciation for all the people who are joining as members who support my channel. I may have my buddy Aquaman on as well. We might actually do a little split screen dialogue and have a discussion and stuff. These types of videos, the members only ones, they're going to be very casual, okay? Not like a prepared presentation about a subject or anything. It'll just be me and my buddy kicking back, talking about whatever comes to our mind, because we do that every Wednesday anyway. And whatever we want to talk about, you know? So it should be a good time. It'll be something kind of new to check out. I love you guys. I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.